everybody, Ben Woodruff here with another Falconry video. Today's video I want to be talking a little bit about managing fear, in not your own fear, but the fear that birds have. And again, with some of my videos I try to teach more about specific techniques. This one I talk about more of the important principle to understand this. Falconry has been around for thousands of years. But it's important to remember, our birds don't know that. They're totally unaware of it. Our birds are not like a red-tailed hawk doesn't hatch, come into this world and start pouring through old falconry books and watching falconry videos on YouTube. They don't know that. They don't know anything about this. And they're hardwired with eons of genetic memory telling them, okay, you fly to a tree. If a bigger bird flies over, you hunker down or you fly away. You dive on prey on the ground or chase prey this way. Do hunt this, don't hunt that. There's a lot of instinct built into our birds. And that doesn't matter if they are wild-caught, captive bred. It doesn't matter if they are taken as a baby or a passage bird. Or it does not matter. That genetic impulse is still there. They're wired certain ways. Falconry is unnatural. It's not a bad thing, but it doesn't occur in nature. I mean, I guess you could get really philosophical, right? And be like, well, humans are a part of nature, and even our human-made world is technically an expression of nature and of the earth. Blah, blah, blah. I get it. But that's not my point. If you think of humans as being kind of different than the rest of everything else, then falconry is an odd thing, and very odd and even a bit jarring to the minds of these birds. And it is really important as we're moving forward in the history of humanity, it's really important that we factor in the consciousness of these birds, of their psychology. And it's really easy not to. It's really easy to get impatient at times or frustrated with things not working out right. So I was thinking about that last night, specifically about the fear that a new bird can have. And this is all birds. It doesn't matter. Are you talking about, I just trapped my first passage red-tailed hawk? Or is it, hey, I bought a captive-bred baby peregrine falcon from a breeder? Or is it, anything? Or let's say you're transferring a bird. Let's say some other falconer had a bird that they flew for a few years and then transferred it to you. Or vice versa, you transferring to somebody else. All of these scenarios involve completely new scenarios for your bird. They are not familiar with you. They are not familiar with your home, your vehicle, any other pets you have, or people you live with. They're not familiar with any of that. It's totally new to them. And it's very easy to get frustrated or a little impatient and be like, well, why aren't you, what's wrong? Why are you afraid of this perch? Or why are you afraid of this or that? This is a glove. It's a falconry glove. You were on a glove before. It's a different color. So what? What's the big deal? Different leash, different hunting patterns, different temperatures, different lighting, different colored walls, What would a bird think coming into my house? I got everything. It's like, okay, we got the woolly rhinoceros skull, right? I mean, it's just like weird stuff. And what is the bird thinking? The bird's like, what am I surrounded by? Things that are either unnatural or are in an unnatural order. Maybe a bird might see some antlers on a deer in the wild. Why are they stuck to a wall? What is a wall? This is a new wall. Please always be aware of that when you're dealing with your bird. And think of them as a person. Let's say you had somebody from a very wild scenario. Let's say maybe somebody from somebody in a tribe who hadn't seen the modern world yet, like an undiscovered tribal member who was living in a very wild, natural state of being able to hunt freely and in an organic world. And then you're like, guess what? Here's the city. That can be like, what am I looking at? This is all new. This is sensory overload. And again, even a bird that has already been flown in falconry with another falconer, it still can be sensory overload. Be respectful. Just think of it. Just think of it as a person who's seeing things for the first time. I mean, we do it with. I live in Utah, in northern Utah, where we have huge mountains, and you go from like our valleys to and just like huge mountains. And geez, even when I bring people out from out of state where they're like in the Great Plains region, sometimes it's like, oh my goodness, I feel surrounded. And driving through these steep mountains for the first time, that can be alarming, and vice versa. I remember my first time going out to the prairies and not being able to see mountains for miles, and it's just like, it's just open. That's human to human. Same thing with a bird. View it like another human who's in an entirely new environment. They haven't seen a lure for the first time. They haven't heard of falconry, or if they have, they haven't done falconry with you. Maybe they were flown by a falconer that didn't have a beard and you do, or maybe there's a height difference. The awareness of this is key to guide you in making good choices for socialization and acclimation. I always talk in my videos on and on and on. I know you're like, Ben, you're always saying the same thing on that, but do everything you can to socialize and acclimate your bird with patience. Let patience guide that process. Don't be frustrated if they're not getting it. Use empathy. Put yourself in their head. If they're doing really good with everything else, but there's one thing that they keep freaking out, and you're like, I've been patient, and I've used acclimation. I've taken time. I've eased them into it. They're still afraid of this one thing. I don't know why. Try to think, troubleshoot, put yourself in their head, and think about, in the wild, what would they be like? What would they have encountered? And what might they be associating that with? You just never know. I was over at a friend's house the other day, and their cat saw me walking with a cast iron pot. And that cat was like, nah, it's a domestic cat. But something about that cast iron pot, I was like, don't know what it was. But it's a cat. It's not a falconry bird. I'm not that worried about it. But think of the mind of the animal. We've had centuries of sciences and religions and cultures dismissing the intelligence and mind of an animal. We need to stop. We need to think, okay, a bird's mind is not the same as my mind, but it is a mind. It is a bright beacon of consciousness that is experiencing things at a higher frame rate and with a different genetic background of fight or flight, of speed, of the ability to fly. I don't think that there's never any time where something comes and I think, oh, I just need to fly away from that. That's not in my brain. That's not in my genetics. I think to run away or hide instead of jump up. Try to put yourself in the mind of your bird and be patient, patient, patient. Always be patient with your bird. They don't speak your language, and you're trying to have a unification of understanding of both of your minds, of what you're trying to accomplish. Now, you may be taking the lead on that. You're trying to orchestrate scenarios that make your bird feel safe, that make your bird fly to you, that make your bird chase certain prey, that if you're flying a falcon, that they learn, okay, I need to go upwind of the falconer instead of downwind, and then they'll flush something, right? That is what you need to do. Have patience and always remember as you brainstorm ways to help them overcome fear and to be socialized. Remember, they have no idea what falconry is. Or if they do, they have no idea yet what falconry is with you and your home and family and environment. So always be aware of that as you brainstorm and be patient. And that patience will pay off. Have that respect and understand that it can be new. It can be overwhelming. It can just be like, it can be shocking. Just like for you, if you abruptly went from one place to another, it can be shocking. So be patient, and it'll go well. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you learned a few things. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe. And as always, happy hawking.